everybody. Welcome to another edition of Reasonable Doubt. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are presented by the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association, the largest criminal lawyers association in the country with over 700 members. I'm your host, Jimmy Ardoin, and we'll be with you here for the next hour. I have a new co-host with me tonight, Julio Vela.
Hello.
How are you, man?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you on.
Thank you so much.
We're gonna break you in nice and easy tonight.
Hey, you got to take it easy on me. It's my first time.
That's right. We're gonna be here for the next hour. We'll take your questions starting around 8:30 on over the phone line. 713-807-1794 is our phone line. We also have Twitter up this evening, as we always do. So we'll take your questions and comments at HCCLA_TV. Excuse me. We got a lot to get to tonight. We got two great guests. Windi Pastorini and son Tran are with us tonight. And guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, you know, we just got done. The three of us got done trying a case in August, a big federal case, and spent over 2 weeks in trial. And I missed you guys so much, I wanted you on the show.
And the funny thing is, at night, when we weren't in trial, we were on the phone or emailing each other. I mean, I feel like I kind of had Jimmy withdrawals.
Well, that's the way you got to go on a vacation.
Yeah.
I did not. I had to continue to do some other work, but it was a good time. I really enjoyed trying that case with you guys, and glad to have you guys on here tonight to talk about some current events going on in the law.
Yeah, I think we both went on a vacation right afterwards.
Yeah, we had to go.
You had to take a break from one another, right?
Yeah. That too.
Well, guys, we got we're gonna ease Julio in here to his new co-hosting duties, but we got a big story that's been developing. Last week, of course, we had Brandon Ball, Kenny Piggy, and Dan Scarborough on, and they were the three lawyers who were discriminated against at the Gaslamp Bar. And since their appearance, of course, we had the social media storm last week, which prompted us, of course, to bring them on the show. But after our appearance, their appearance on our show, we had the response, Julio, from the Gaslamp attorney, Tim Sutherland, who we invited on the show.
And if he's out there today, I want to tell him and ask him, come on the show. Let's hear your side. I mean, you've issued two statements out there, a plethora of media on it. You have your own radio show. Why don't he come on the show? We've had Brandon and that group's side on. Come on the show. Let's hear his side. I'd love to hear what he has to say. And I'd love to hear another story from him or another set of facts that he says happened. And I'd love to question and talk to him. I'm a fellow Coug as well, also. So, hey, come on out. If he's out there, if you're listening, come. We'd love to have you on the show.
Yeah, I sent him a message over Twitter directed right at him, and no response. So, you know, but he makes good YouTube videos.
I disagree with that.
Well, I mean, they're good for us
term.
to banter about,
Right.
because they're kind of I would say a lot of it was filled with racism on its face and misstatements of the law.
Right.
I mean,
Are we sure he's licensed?
He is. I did check that out with the state bar. He is actually a licensed lawyer. Been practicing since, what, 2011, I believe, Julio?
I think so. I think
about 4
so.
years. The interesting thing is, apparently, he is also an employee of the Gaslamp. He's a chef.
Is he? I heard he was a fry cook.
Well, he might
Is that,
be.
No. I don't know if that's true or false, but that was the rumor that he actually cooks.
That was discussed last week on the show. Brandon Ball and Kenny and Dan had heard that same thing and talked about it here on the show, and it's since been confirmed. I think I went on, was it Instagram or Twitter, and found his profile, of course, sent him the invitation. And I was texting you, Julio, saying, check this out.
And I will say, when I went into, he has another website that provides recipes. I did try one of them out. Not too bad. Not too bad. I tried one of them out. Not too bad.
You are serious?
I did.
So, I mean, I know you've been on vacation, Windi, but son, you've had a chance to look at this stuff. And I think, Windi, you've had a chance to catch up on it. But I mean, give me your impressions of this video, this series of videos from this guy.
I think it was probably the worst video I've ever seen. The music was bad. Everything he said was just completely wrong. And really not even at all apologetic, which I think probably rubbed a lot of the viewers the wrong way. Just the opposite of what Gaslamp would want. So.
Yeah, I mean, he misstates the law, says there are no discrimination laws that apply to us, which is a complete misstatement because we all know that federal discrimination laws clearly apply to this. But the more appalling thing to me, Windi, is just the overt racism of it. He's kind of like, we'll discriminate against anybody. And even if he's trying to say, well, we're not racist, he's basically admitting it's okay to be sexist at bars. You know, we'll let girls in for free, but we'll make the guys pay.
Yeah, well, I'm in favor of that to some degree. But no, I agree with you. But it was such a rambling diatribe of just, comments and statements that meant virtually nothing. I got actually bored in it. And then it turns out that doesn't he make a subsequent statement where he kind of contradicts what he said in the first statement.
Yeah,
I think we have some of those, don't you?
We do. I want to we got a little bit. If we can cue up the part where he talks about it's okay for us to discriminate. If we can play that, I don't know if we have it queued up in the first video. Do we have it queued up? Yeah, let's roll it. He first talks about it's okay for us to discriminate, basically validating their conduct. And then in the second video, they come out and they kind of piece together their version of events, and they say, we're not going to let you in if you don't have girls with you, or we're going to make you pay a cover if you want to get to this VIP section. And I think, wasn't there some we were talking about before we went on the air that he kind of chopped up, it looks like they've chopped up the video to make it.
Yes, I mean, if he's really an attorney, which I assume he is, but you should know better than to just show parts of what you have. Show the full thing, show the seconds before Brandon got to the line, show the entire line to see, because he's portraying as if Brandon cut the line when I don't believe that's true at all.
Right, we got the video ready to go. Let's roll it. Let's take a look.
Telling you that you don't fit the dress code. We will tell you that you need some girls and that this isn't bros night out because we don't want you creeping out the girls that we already have inside. We will tell you that you're too cheap for our nightclub if you don't want to pay a cover, because we know that if you won't pay a cover, you're probably not going to buy any drinks. This isn't Market Square Park free bingo night. We've invested millions of dollars in this business. We got to make a profit. Though we do have these rules and policies, we have too many exceptions, and we admit that, and it's a problem. Sometimes the exceptions swallow the rules. We have VIP passes, and those people don't pay or wait in line. We have people who buy bottle service. Those people don't pay or wait in line, and they get a group of 8 in with them, and we don't care what those people wear. Sometimes people know the door guy, the management, or the owners, and they get in free. Sometimes the door guy thinks you're a smoking hot babe, and you also get in free. We're not in denial about this controversy. We have seen the people speak up and share similar allegations to Brandon Balls. We cannot, as a business, ignore that there is a common thread here. Yeah, we charge white girls and groups of white guys too, but that's not good enough, and that's not a defense if in fact even one black person was asked or is ever asked for a cover charge simply because they're trying to go out drinking while black. We've had over 100,000 customers come through our doors since we opened, and not once has there been a single court case or a finding of discrimination.
I mean, really? You've invested millions of dollars in this business, and that's the video you let your lawyer put out? Seriously?
I think he needs to stick to the kitchen.
Yeah, well, apparently, according to Julio, his recipes
It's not too
are
bad. It's not too bad. I mean,
well, maybe that's his calling, because it's certainly not in the 21st century making comments like he's making on that video, and it rambles. It was hard to follow. It just seems like a bunch of, just a bunch of negative energy flowing from Gaslamp.
well,
Go ahead.
I think it's the classic issue that many of us face, where the lawyer is saying one thing, but it's obvious from their client's actions and deeds that they're doing something else. And what happened is he came out too soon. He made some statement. He tried to jump in front of it without getting or knowing all the facts and getting to the bottom of it. And now he issued the second statement to backtrack, and now he's going to have a whole lot of climbing to do out of this hole that he's dug himself in.
I mean, you know, sometimes some of our members in HCCLA give seminars and CLEs on how to deal with the media. This is a video on how to not deal with the media, okay? I mean, this is like the shining example of what you should put up. This is how not to deal with them, ladies and gentlemen. But there's another video I want to play, and that is of another group of females getting turned away. And we can cue that up and play it, because this just even confirms it more. And we can go to that. Tell Tyrone I said hi.
Let's go have fun for the rest of our time.
Oh, because I'm gonna file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau. I'm on your video. I'm white. I got in for free, and they were right behind me, and they charged them $20. They're black.
Yet another incident. I mean, it happens once. Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. But stuff like this keeps coming out, guys. It's a pattern, isn't it?
I think so. There was actually a part before that where he said something about go back to the hood or something like that.
Right. We had to edit that out because there was some salty language in there. But
it shows what kind of person he is. And what JV was saying, their attorney came out and defended him and, you know, said they're not racist. And then you get all these reviews and examples of how he is. And then this video comes out. And like I said, or like JV said, it's hard to climb out of this hole.
now, Windi, you and I were talking before we went on the air about this latest breaking article that came out in Houston Press, in which the owner is now saying, I want out. I'm going to make an interview tomorrow, hopefully post it tomorrow. He's going to do another video. I can't wait to see how this turns out, since their production skills are clearly great at this point. But he says, I'm going to make that interview hopefully tonight and post it tomorrow. But I want to tell people that this story has hurt me more than anybody else. Boo-hoo. Really?
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. It doesn't sound genuine. It also leaves open the possibility that all he has to do is hand off ownership to a crony of his, and then it looks like, well, Gaslamp is now open for business under new management, and can go back to the same old practices. I'm not moved or compelled by that statement that he's going to try to get out of the business and he's hurt. I don't think he's hurt at all. He's worried about the number one thing that most entrepreneurs like him are, and that's about how do I get money, and the most money I can from the people that want to come to my business, and that's all he's about, and that's what most businesses should be about. But you can't abuse people like this. This is the 21st century. This isn't. I grew up in Beaumont, Texas, in the 60s, and I can tell you, late 50s, early 60s, it was racism and things like this that I've never seen happen. And when I got back, I took a little trip after our trial, and when I got back, the first thing that I was told was about Brandon's incident at the Gaslamp. And my son, who's a new lawyer, he was incensed by this. I mean, he can't believe that this is going on in the real world these days. And we all know Brandon. There is not a finer human being on the planet. He is honest. He is brilliant. He is hardworking, and you couldn't ask for a better guy. And to shame him and do the kind of antics that the Gaslamp did, I just think is inexcusable, and I'm appalled.
Well, this speaks to kind of what the undercurrent theme of the last couple of weeks on the show. You were mentioning about growing up in Beaumont in the 60s and the racism that existed then. I mean, we see it every day at the courthouse. There's this undercurrent of racism that permeates. And I would argue that it hadn't really changed in 35 years. 45 years, 50 years, 60 years. Go back. I mean, have we really progressed when incidents like this keep coming out? I mean, there's this undercurrent there.
No, there's no question about that. But I guess I thought, with a professional like Brandon and his friends that showed up dressed appropriately, that it would be that they would be treated different. It's not like, where we are, we see the people that are charged with crimes, and
Right.
and you can, you expect a little bit of the racism that's there. You don't like it and you don't appreciate it, but you expect it because it's just the way it is. I think it's much better than it was when I was a teenager. We don't have, black or colored bathrooms and white bathrooms anymore. We don't have colored water fountains and white water fountains. And as a little girl, I remember growing up thinking, colored, that was such a weird term. And then when I was in college, there was this poster which I thought was so great. It had people in all different colors, and at the bottom of the poster it said, "Some of my best friends are colored." And it's kind of like, I think those of us with a little bit more open mind and a little more interested in fairness to others, we tend to be a little colorblind. And I don't know who gives anyone the right or the authority to abuse people like that. And when it happens to a friend like Brandon is to all of us, it's hard to get my mind around.
Well, speaking of times changing, and speaking of misstatements of the law by Mr. Sutherland,
Yeah.
he says, well, voters, why don't you go talk to your legislators and talk to your politicians to make something and do something about it. And in fact, there is.
Yeah.
It's not only federal law, but there's something called, and we weren't going to talk about it today, but I feel it's a good tie-in, the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance.
Right.
Okay? And that Houston Equal Rights Ordinance that was passed last year, which has been so vehemently opposed and taken all the way up to the Texas Supreme Court and back down, states any business cannot discriminate on the basis of race, sex, identity, ethnicity, national origin, any of those things. And it's sentiments and feelings that are proposed and given off by entities like this that have caused our people and the community of Houston to respond and to enact things like this type of legislation to stop discrimination based on race, sex, and national origin or gender identity and these kind of things. And so, I mean, it's a perfect example of where once this law is in place, which in November it can immediately be in place depending on a certain series of events, businesses like Gas Lamp and these kind of things can be fined. Now, it's not much. Civil penalties up to $5,000 per complainant, and it's a Class C misdemeanor per violation, $5,000 per complainant, but it's a start. Yeah. Not to mention the federal violations or federal laws that they may be violating in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad that this still goes on. And, we talk about at the courthouse, and I think you see it, and a lot of lawyers talk about how the undercurrent of racism that's there against minority defendants, poor defendants, the discrimination that goes on. And as we kind of talked about last week, is you see it spill over not just from the courthouse. I mean, and we kind of talk about it in our own little circles about what goes on and what we see. But I think it's just a microcosm of clearly what's going on out there.
You're right. It goes back to what Brandon said, though. We see it all the time, and some people may get used to it because you do see it all the time, but that doesn't make it right. Mm-hmm. And things have to change, and that's what Brandon's doing. I'm very proud of him.
I've been around Midtown once or twice in my time.
Let's be honest.
Maybe once or twice. I've been turned away from many clubs or facilities, and it's always because your pants are too baggy when my pants aren't baggy, or you don't have the right kind of shoes, or you don't have the right kind of shirt on. And I've experienced it for years here in Houston, and I never spoke. I never said anything about it. I never took to Facebook or anything like that. I just kind of accepted, that's fine. I don't want to start a ruckus. But what Brandon did was stuck his neck out, and he is on the flip side has received anti comments, bad vibes, all the kind of things that one would risk in putting his neck out there to display what's been going on in Midtown and what's been going on in Midtown for years now.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing that he's done, and on the cusp of the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance. I mean, it's just something that just seems to be coming into play and working right. And so I commend Brandon for doing that.
Yeah, it's good to have people like him who are willing to stick their neck out, and I can't wait to see this video tomorrow and see what the response of the owner is, because that's just going to be something else and probably give us more stuff to talk about next week, frankly. But I want to move on to the next topic, and that is the 14-year-old arrested in Dallas. We talked a little bit about it last week. Some more information has come out. And of course, for those of you who haven't heard about it, Ahmed Muhammad was a 9th grader who was arrested in Dallas in the Irving area last week for a hoax bomb. He was placed in custody. I guess technically wasn't arrested, but detained. They determined he brought a clock to school. He had made a clock. And there's a picture up there. And what's interesting to me is that picture has caused quite a unification on a side of people that I never thought would get together. And Sarah Palin, who I would completely expect to come out and say, this was a bomb. This looks like a bomb. This is exactly what we're taught to do. These educators did the right thing to alert the police and take this guy into custody. And then I was watching Real Time with Bill Maher, and he said the exact same thing. Two people that I would never think would align on this issue completely came into one and said, these teachers did the right thing. This is a bomb. You look at that. This looks like it could be a bomb. And they did the right thing. And I talked last week, Julio, about the fear-mongering with post 9/11. And, stuff like this only adds to it. It only adds to it. I mean, this kid was taken down possibly because, now there's some other stuff that has come out. We can't verify whether or not, I guess they're looking into the family and everything else, but still, this is a 14-year-old kid. And I just find it amazing, don't you guys, that two people on complete opposite sides of the way conservative spectrum and the super liberal spectrum come together on this. It's amazing.
Well, I watched the Bill Maher show last week, and I understood him to say it looked like a bomb, and I can see how they would have reacted to a device that looked that way. But all they have to do is ask a few questions. What is this? He's 14 years old. You find out what it is, where, and then you verify from his teacher. Did you ask? Did you have him? Was this his project that he was assigned? Did he complete the project? Is this what it is? Just ask a few questions and just not completely overreact. But that was, I think, last week I saw on your show about who was the guy that was taken down at the subway, jumped on at the subway, the ball player.
Right.
Just people overreacting, and for what? And there's just no explanation to say for what. You just can't explain it.
Well, the interesting thing is Mark Bennett did a very good blog post the other day, and you can read it all about Texas's hoax bomb law. And he breaks it down very well. And it talks about, hoax bomb device means that by its design causes a reaction of any type by an official of a public safety agency. A reaction of any type. Wow. I mean, this law is so broad that you can see why they reacted the way they did. So what could be considered a hoax bomb? And Mark has some very interesting images, some of which we can't publish on the air because they're inappropriate. But it begs the question. I mean, with a law that vague, anything could incite a reaction or cause a reaction in a law enforcement officer that could cause them to do this.
It leaves it too open to the enforcement officer to decide what he thinks could possibly cause a reaction. I remember when I was a kid, we built things like that all the time, and the teachers knew about it, and sometimes that was our project. I feel bad for the guy.
Alarms or hoax bombs?
Yeah, you built
No. Little kits and things like that. You can buy kits, and with circuit boards, and you solder them, and sometimes it'd be little chirping things, sometimes they do other things, but that was commonplace in my school, to build things from kits. So
I just set off firecrackers in the gun. That's all I tried to do.
I think it's important in this case to also look at the environment of Irving, Texas.
Right.
Okay, so apparently that's the hot spot or bed for Americans versus the Muslim takeover, as they call it.
Well, the shooting in Garland happened not too long ago.
And the Dra Muhammad happened there as well. I mean, it was within 20 miles of this school, and they're probably hypersensitive to it. I can see if I saw it, I might react and say, what is that, and try to get to the bottom of it. But I can't imagine going any further than that about it. Once you find out. And it wasn't it the school officials that found out? I didn't hear that part, but
yeah.
Okay, so it's the school, his school teacher that told him to build it, and it's the school teacher for whom he built it, and it's the school teacher who can verify that it actually worked. And why I don't see where there's a problem there. I can see you being shocked and startled and want answers, but there's no. Wasn't he suspended for several days or something?
I don't know that he was suspended. I think that what happened was they conducted the investigation. He was held in custody while they investigated the situation. What I understand is he took the device, the clock, around, showed it to the teacher that he made it for, then took it around to several other teachers throughout the day. And then the last teacher, apparently somebody, that's the thing that really is crazy to me, is that a bunch of teachers before this understood what it was, but then one teacher says, I don't feel comfortable with this, and I guess that's when the investigation started. You need to put that away. You need to stop showing people this because it's making everybody uncomfortable. Well, what exactly is making everybody uncomfortable? It's already been determined by one other teacher that it's a clock.
I think ultimately, in the state of Texas, Muslims, people who pursue the Muslim faith are behind Catholics, Baptists, non-denominational Christians, and Methodists. And people who practice the Muslim faith come in around 420,000, who represent close to about 1.7% of the people who identify with the religion, according to the U.S. Census on Religion in Texas. People have to understand, I think people have to realize that the Muslim community is growing, and we have to learn to be more tolerant. We have to learn to be more accepting, and we have to learn to be more patient and consider other people's views and other people's way people view their world. That mayor of Irving, Beth Van Doon, actually earlier this year made national attention for backing and causing a push to support a bill that shut down a practice of a particular Muslim worshiping center, where this worshiping center would offer to mediate disputes amongst the worshipers for a fee and handle it in the church. And what this city council member, what the mayor did is went to city council and fought to say, no. You guys are holding your own tribunals. It's the first type of court like this in the country, and we have to shut it down. And so she backed a bill and got the support behind city council to shut down these internal congregation mediations that they were having between congregation members or worshipers. And that's the environment that all this is going on.
Well, I really think you've got to be vigilant, though, about things that are suspicious looking, whether it's a package, right, a device that looks like it might be a bomb. I really think you've got to be vigilant because, you look at what happened in Boston. Look at how many things have happened, and you can't just turn a blind eye and say, oh, I'm not going to worry about that. He's only 14, because he could be a 14-year-old on a mission, but all you have to do is ask him, what is this? Tell me about this. Step away from it if you don't feel safe. Step away from it and tell me what's going on here. And then get the teacher and say, is this true? You know, I think that's what you need to do. But you can't not be vigilant. That's how a lot of things have blown up. That's how a lot of things have happened. And you know, there's 3 men that on the train, and I think it was to Paris. Right. I mean, they saw something happening and they took action. It's almost like you have to take some action, and you never know. It may be a nothing and it may be a something, but you know, you can't wait. You can't wait. You've got to be vigilant, but you don't have to be crazed about it. And I think that's what happened with the last teacher. She should have just verified what he told her and let it be, not just.
I wonder what the
overreacting like that.
I wonder what they were saying, and they're saying, should I cut the red one? What do I do?
Give me some pliers. Some wire cutters.
I mean, call the bomb squad if you're that worried about it. But I mean, he's 14. Let's, you know, what are you going to put him in kiddie jail? I mean, it's very disheartening. I had operated under the impression that he had been suspended. I don't know where I heard that, but
I'll tell you where.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was out of the country until last Friday, so I didn't.
From my understanding, either his sister or somebody else was suspended for making some sort of allegation of a bomb threat in the same school district.
His sister?
Years ago.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's
okay. That's that. Okay.
Yeah. There's all this investigations coming in. We're going to bring back the 60-second law lesson. We brought it to you a couple weeks ago. Didn't have it last week. We're going to bring it back this week. Jackie Carpenter is going to give you our 60-second law lesson for this week. Here she is.
Have you ever wondered why Pookie and Ray Ray got railroaded when they went through the judicial system? Have you ever thought that the judicial system didn't work for you or one of your loved ones? The reason why that's happening is because we need you as part of the system. The system only works if everybody contributes. So we need you to come, we need your voice, we need you to give your opinions in court. It's not so scary. When you get that notice in the mail that says jury duty, please show up. Please be part of the system and not part of the problem. I'm Jackie Carpenter, and this has been your 60-second law lesson.
Thank you, Jackie. And yes, it is very important for everybody to show up for jury duty and do your duty as a citizen of this country. We appreciate it as lawyers when everybody shows up. The judges appreciate it, and we encourage everybody to get out there and respond to your summons. We're going to start taking our phone calls right now. 713-807-1794 is the number. We got it up there at the bottom of the screen. We're still taking your questions. Haven't gotten any yet, but Twitter is up at HCCLA_TV. Call us right here, and we'll take your questions live on the air. Guys, another discrimination issue coming out, and this one involves the police chief in Galveston County. He was at first suspended for an investigation involving violations of federal law, the same federal discrimination laws, the Title VII. They all come into play, and then it came out he's now resigned. So where there's smoke, there's fire. This isn't good for a police chief to be accused of violating discrimination laws, especially in light of everything we've had going on lately. Is it?
Well, do we know what? Can we elaborate on what the allegations are? You know, some of them.
We don't know. That's the thing. I mean, if you guys, I haven't seen anything. The Chronicle's being very cryptic about things. But
this is from what I understand. From what I understand is that he was promoting or offering employment to individuals within his own circles, and kind of what we call in the Valley a compadre system establishing in Galveston. Now, I don't know if I haven't, all the news hasn't broken. However, this is what I understand. And I mean, we have 3 of the best federal trial lawyers here in town, and it's an honor to sit with each of you. In fact, I watched some of the trial, and I watched closing arguments of the last one you guys had, which I thought was brilliant, and you had a mountain of issues and things to attack. And
stop sharing us with praise.
Please, no, don't stop, please.
It was
I meant
phenomenal.
that jokingly.
It was phenomenal. In fact, I've used I had 2 trials set this week, and I used some of Jimmy's PowerPoint on the cow jumped over the moon and things like that regarding And I have another trial that's coming up regarding snitches, which would be a good show. But on the federal side, we see a lot of political corruption, judges being brought, in the Valley, for example.
Right.
That's where we usually see those types of things being brought. So coming from someone who doesn't do much federal work, I have done some, wondering maybe if you all could elaborate on your experience of what a public official could be facing, or what the things that he would have to maybe look forward to in the event that maybe something federal comes down the pipeline. I mean, do you know you speak of any?
Son? Come on, man, you're the expert here.
I really don't even know. He could face a slew of things. But it's just, when I heard that story, it's just one of those things where a chief of police, you're supposed to have a little bit of faith in, and if the guy's discriminating or racist, that's so bad for Galveston. They just lose faith in, just their police.
Well, it makes it tough for the guy who's commanding the patrol officers, right?
Exactly.
I mean, here's the guy commanding the patrol officers out on the street. How does he have any credibility, especially if some of those officers are minorities, right?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And then if there are allegations of discrimination in the police department, and then people start wondering, is that a pattern or a practice? Did it come from someone else? Do they see it? Is it more common than not? So.
And what are some of the things? I mean, is it a state? Would it be a state violation, a federal violation? I mean, what is it?
It just depends, right? I mean, we don't know enough at this point, do we? I mean, there's investigating some potential Title VII, which is employment discrimination, so that would be civil in nature. But I don't know if there's any kind of official oppression or corruption investigation going along with this. The article is very vague, but it happened so suddenly. It's like he gets suspended, and then 48 hours later, he's just like, I'm out.
Who suspended him?
Well, the city. It's the Galveston police chief, and so the city suspended him.
Is it the commissioner's court or what? I mean,
no, the city officials.
The city officials.
Yeah.
So, but we don't know what were the grounds for the suspension, and.
No, just says it says that he allegedly violated Title VII, and then he took his resignation, retirement today, and he's declined to comment.
How long has he been the police chief?
Since 2012, so he hadn't even been on the job that long. That's the thing.
Wow. He didn't have a long time to do much damage. That's a good thing.
And even if the city were to suspend him, they would likely look into it at least a little bit and do at least a little bit of an investigation. So, at least to me, it seems like, although you don't know the full story, there's got to be maybe a little bit of truth to it.
Well, I mean, you don't.
He resigned.
I wouldn't imagine he would resign unless there was truth to it. I mean, you'd say, take your best shot, but it's that he resigned I think it's a pretty compelling indictment of him, at least in the court of public opinion.
Yeah, and race is a really big issue between citizens and law enforcement right now.
It's the issue right now. It's the hot
It's
topic.
the issue apparently in just about everything. I mean, it's whether it's the Middle Eastern guy in Garland, Texas, or it's whether it's it's Brandon Ball in Houston, Texas. And I am still incensed that is going on. I quite frankly, for obvious reasons, I guess I'm a little ahead of Brandon and most of the people that go to Midtown. I've never been to the gas lamp or.
Neither have I. I don't think we're missing much.
Frankly. No, it doesn't sound like it, and it's and I don't get out much in Midtown, so I really don't have much to compare it to. But so I am overwhelmed by the fact that out of all the people that they would discriminate against, it would be someone of the caliber of Brandon Ball.
Well, and we talk about the discrimination thing and how it's just permeating everything. Another story that came out today, and we've been following this, is the high school students in San Antonio, the football players who tackled the referee.
Yeah, well, they were on, but they were on orders to do so,
well,
right?
Well, that's what came out today. Is this coach, as I understand it, son, he ordered the code red. He came out today and admitted to the hit. Now he's a black coach, but he's admitted it. How does that play into what goes forward here in terms of the criminal case? The criminal investigation, I should say. The kid's got 75 days alternative school, but what happens in the criminal case, in your opinion?
That's a tough one. I mean, he ordered the kids to do it, but it's one of those where the kids got to know, what's right or wrong. But
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your take on right or wrong.
This is what I want to get into. I want everybody's take on this because these kids are 15 and 17.
And they are doing what their coach says. The coach, if they don't do what their coach says, then they're in trouble. If they do what their coach says, they're in trouble. Is the referee a white guy or a black guy?
He was white.
And it was my understanding that he was making the rumor is, and that's just rumor, but that he was making racist remarks. Is that true?
Yeah, and he's come out and denied it, of course.
Well, of course.
But what
about
gas lamp.
Are the two just like the gas lamp? Yeah. Are the two football players, are they black or white?
They are Hispanic.
Looked Hispanic.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when your coach tells you to do something, you're trained to just do. You're trying to do what you're told, and I know, son, in a perfect world, you would know right from wrong, and you would stand up, and you're little on your tiptoes and look that coach in the eye and say, "No, I'm not going to do it."
Well, this wasn't part of a play or anything like that, right?
It was.
It was.
It was part of a play, and
Yeah.
it was necessary to hit the referee.
Well, no. The play went on, and these guys just charged at the ref in the middle of the play. One hit him in the back, then when he goes down, the other spears him.
So to me, that's something even a 15-year-old should know. That's not a play in football to spear the ref. So, I mean,
but football in Texas is like a religion.
That's
and
true.
And
Maybe
what
'cause
these
I didn't
coaches
play
say,
football,
they're like.
Yeah, your coach is like. I mean,
They're like gods.
They're like gods. They're like your. I think that from what I understand in football, and I really do like football. Obviously, it is they're a notch above your parents. I mean, if the coach tells you to do something, you just do it. And I know what you're thinking. And in a perfect world, it's you were raised better than that. You should know better than that. But we're not in a perfect world. We've got coaches. We've got these guys that look up to him and idolize him, and they did what they were told. I don't think it excuses it, but it certainly explains it.
did the coach resign or did he get fired?
He resigned. They again, just like with the police chief, they suspend him, and then I think they may have actually fired him, or he may have taken the
option to resign.
Yeah, one of the two. But from a defense lawyer standpoint, I don't know how this would play out if it does get criminal charges. But how would you defend this from the kid's standpoint? I mean, you son, I want to hear your take on this because you think they should know what they're doing. So how do you defend it?
Oh, to play devil's advocate.
Play devil's advocate.
You have to say that they were just following orders. Maybe in that situation, given their relationship with the coach and what the coach knew, maybe they didn't realize it at the time. I guess what was wrong or what was right regarding that hit on the ref.
Do you think a prosecutor would actually want to take this case?
The case against the boys or
The
case
kids.
against the coach?
I think they take the case against the coach.
I agree.
But do you think that somebody would actually file juvenile charges against the kids?
I do.
You do?
Okay. Would somebody? Yes, potentially. But should they? No. They would.
Yeah.
There's they'll indict. You can get a ham sandwich indicted.
Sure.
It's so they would. Would somebody would, but I would think that would be a bad idea in this particular fact situation.
Because there's a 17-year-old involved, do you think they would judge the 17-year-old differently than the 15-year-old? Kind of to your point, son, that did they make a distinction that the 17-year-old who could be treated as adult legally in Texas, did they draw a distinction there?
That's an excellent question, Jimmy, and that makes the area much more gray.
Yeah. I mean, because at what point do you say, well, he's 17, he can be treated as an adult? We can kind of think that the 15-year-old, maybe, we'll give him a pass, but a 17-year-old?
I think that some prosecutor is going to take this case against both the kids, and I think it's going to take one heck of a defense lawyer to get these kids. Well, I guess are they already suspended? Are they in juvie?
They've been given 75 days alternative school.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that punishment enough?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that's more than sufficient punishment. But I mean, the referee wasn't.
Was he injured?
He wasn't injured. He took a fall, but he wasn't. I mean, he's not. He didn't suffer any injuries that required hospitalization.
He suffered public humiliation, Windi, and he's got a personal injury lawyer to get him some damages.
Yeah, well, I can see that. I can see that coming. But really and truly, I don't believe that this coach out of nowhere said, "Go knock this guy down." I think that there is something more to this story, and that would have motivated this coach to do that. Does this coach have it? How long has he been the coach of that school?
Don't know. I didn't get that from any of the stories how long he's been there. But I'm with you. There's something weird about this to order that kind of behavior of your.
I mean, did you see one of the kids' haircuts? Crazy.
I did not see it.
Crazy.
I mean, if you want to indict him for judgment of his haircut, let's.
Just saying.
Yeah, we can go there.
Have either of the children been handled as juveniles?
No. Well, it's still the investigation's still pending from a criminal standpoint. So there hadn't been any formal charges. Don't know where it'll go.
In the event that he had sustained some sort of serious bodily injury, or somewhere where these kids are going to be in some real deep trouble or problems, which they may, but because he didn't suffer some serious bodily injury, I find that I'd hope that a prosecutor would have some sort of discretion. However, I would go and with the arguments of these guys were instruments, these kids were instruments of their coach's bidding. There's all sorts of research and new discoveries about the juvenile brain development and how the brain develops over time, how children use more of their side lobes rather than their frontal cortex and they're more emotional or they're more impulse, and they really don't appreciate or make those comprehensive, thought-out decisions until later, and they realize, oh, I may have made a mistake. And those are some of the ways that I would attack the case if I was representing those kids, because kids do look up to it's Texas football. Kids do look up to their coaches, and I would, as a defense lawyer representing those kids, arguably one of those kids, I would definitely use that approach and attack the adult for his involvement in this situation.
And this is the state that spawned the book Friday Night Lights. It's a cult. It's a cult. Switch topics. Over the last week, we've seen two very big, high-profile cases here in the state of Texas that we've had a series of what we legally call Brady disclosures that have gone public and have been filed. And son, Windi, we all dealt with some Brady and exculpatory evidence issues in our federal trial. We'll save that for another day since we still got that case pending. But those issues were really not played out in the public to the extent that these issues were. The first case, of course, is the Darren Goforth murder and the airing of the dirty laundry of whether or not this mistress of his may or may not interject some doubt as to whether or not he was on duty for purposes of the capital murder charge. And then the second issue was in the Ken Paxton securities fraud case, where the special prosecutors, Ken Schaefer and Brian Weiss, both defense lawyers here in Houston, made a public disclosure about a witness who apparently lied to the Texas Rangers and made some misstatements along the way, changed his testimony from what he told the SEC to what he told the Texas Rangers. And this is very unusual. But Brady, exculpatory information, these notices are not filed generally public like this and made to be this spectacle that in these two cases has become, are they?
No, they're not. But I think it's good because they're making it transparent. We've all had issues when somebody says, I gave you a Brady disclosure, and the defense attorney says, I never got it.
Mm-hmm.
They're making everything transparent. They've got nothing to hide. and I commend them for doing it.
Do you think it's proper in a high, because both of these are high-profile cases, and I understand what you're saying about making it publicly filed so that everybody knows what's out there, but do you think it's proper to openly file it and not put it, say, under seal, and make sure you get it in the record? But do you think it's proper for it to be publicly aired like this?
That's a good question. I guess it depends on what the information is. If it's personal information, maybe not. But if it's something that is relevant, I mean, it's a public forum. So,
there's a lot in the media. There's been a lot of, I believe, confusion as to what, specifically in the Goforth case, what it means for the case. So a lot of the things we've been hearing is, oh, well, it's just a smear campaign and they're just trying to get him off. When in reality, it's my understanding that Anthony also, who's one of the lawyers defending Goforth, who's a wonderful lawyer, and
Goforth's killer.
Miles.
Goforth's killer. That's correct. He's looking to get life or death, because I'm not sure if they're seeking death, but the capital murder off the table, or at least pursue something other than life without parole or death. He's not trying to necessarily excuse any behavior, but he's trying to save his client's life. And I don't necessarily think the public understands what it means in that situation. So can anybody explain that, what it means, and how this new Brady information may affect the outcome of that case, or what Anthony also is looking to do? Or
I mean, these are difficult cases. These are ugly cases, aren't they, Windi?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're not fun. So as a defense lawyer, you're looking for anything.
Right, and especially in this case, if the officer is not, if he's not within the scope of his duties, in order to get a capital conviction, you have to be operating in the scope of your whatever the profession is. That's one of the elements that'll make it be a capital murder. And if this man was off duty and was shot, it's a murder. You don't pin a medal on the guy for doing it. You think, I mean, the murderer. I mean, he's still facing life in prison. But it just takes the death penalty and life without parole off the table.
And just because you're in uniform doesn't mean that you're necessarily acting in your official capacity, right?
You're right. You're right. What if, though, he was working a side job? I guess there's maybe a little gray there.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. This begs so many questions about what was going on, whether or not it meets the elements, and it's really just I don't think anybody has come out and said, "Oh, it didn't happen," or anything like that. Clearly it's on video.
I think you said it right, and I think that's what the public isn't grasping, that he's in the event that there's no capital murder. He's still looking at a murder charge, and he's still looking at up to life in prison. And I think most of the public thinks that maybe this is just some smear campaign or some tactic, but when in reality, he's not looking to get off scot-free. He's still looking at up to life in prison with the murder.
We got a phone call, first phone call of the evening, better late than never. Hello, welcome to HCCLA's Reasonable Doubt. Hello?
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I was wondering, how did Mr. Oso come? How did he know about this? The girlfriend at the gas station.
Sure. So what the two ways. One, I understand he had an investigator who had already found out about this, is what he told the local news, and then of course this public disclosure by the DA's office confirmed it. So I mean, it's interesting that we would get two big-time Brady disclosures in two high-profile cases in 1 week. I mean, it's an interesting deal. I wonder how it's going to affect the Paxton case, because this seems to be their seminal witness, so to speak. That now may have made some misstatements or changed his story along the way. That's fertile grounds for impeachment.
You're right, and anytime you change your story, it definitely calls into question whether or not they're telling the truth in court, which story was the truth. Just anytime they make different statements, it's definitely grounds for impeachment of the witness.
Well, all I can say is I'm just thrilled that actually there are Brady matters being disclosed, because
Right.
generally speaking, and you go to the prosecutor and they'll have this file and it says across the top work product, and I said, this, you know what work product means? It's code for Brady. I mean, this stuff in there has got to be Brady if it's your work product. And so many times it actually is, but that people are actually producing Brady material. It brings a smile to my face, because you want to know the truth. You want people to be punished, properly punished, but not overly punished. And you certainly don't want to convict people of crimes they didn't commit.
Well, you want them to have a fair trial.
Exactly.
I mean, that's really the fundamental thing here, and I think part of what Brady ensures is that a defendant gets a fair trial. Isn't that what we all want?
You're absolutely right.
You're right.
I mean, just make sure that the process is fair.
You know, speaking of announcements, and do you think maybe the district attorney's office, in such a high-profile case that DA Anderson is doing these things to maybe gather some support? Because Kim Ogg just announced that she's going to be having fundraisers and getting out there,
Yeah.
and so it may be such a circumstance where it's an opportunity to use some of these things to get some favor.
Might be. We got about a minute left in the show here. We're kind of coming up to our close, and I want to thank you guys for coming on. I want to also mention that last week HCCLA celebrated Constitution Day, and I want to thank Grant Shiner, Phil Gommels, Jen Gott, and Jamel Haynes for putting that together. We had a great event. A lot of people turned out, just like what happened with the reading of the Declaration of Independence. I hope it's a tradition that continues. And we encourage all of you defense lawyers to get out there each and every year and come read a portion of the Constitution, come be a part of this organization, and get involved. I want to thank our guests, Windi Pastorini, Tran. You guys have been great tonight.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, of course. I mean,
you miss us, don't you?
I do.
We miss you. 2 weeks, 12, 15, 18 hours a day.
Who would have thought over 2 weeks you formed such a strong bond, right?
Right. No,
Good times. Good times.
We need a war story show.
We'll have to save that for another episode.
We should have one.
You did a good job, man.
Yeah, Julio.
Thank you.
Great job.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Great
it's only
job.
for a couple weeks. Oh, a couple months.
Couple months.
Couple months.
We'll fill it in. But that's a wrap for now, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you tuning in, and keep your comments and questions coming. Follow us on Twitter at HCCLA_TV. Go like us on Facebook. Come back next week. We'll have another great panel of guests and more great topics. We'll see you next week, everybody. Good night.